Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Hello everyone. Well, first tonight, it was a day of tears, memories and passion in Tasmania's lower house as debate over voluntary assisted dying legislation began. MPs on all sides spoke of grief but also concern over the proposed laws, which are now closer to passing than ever before.
For Jackie and Natalie Gray, it's been a long road, becoming advocates for giving those with a terminal illness the choice to die on their own terms, a final commitment to their mother Diane.
In her final days last year, following an 11-month battle with stomach cancer, this is a promise we made to her to ensure that no other Tasmanian would have to suffer the way that she did.
Now as they watch debate in Parliament with baby Tilly Diane, they're cautiously optimistic. Discussion on the proposed voluntary assisted dying laws starting in the lower house after already passing the Legislative Council.
How could I possibly stand here and argue that I know better than a sick, dying, suffering person who only has before them a painful and sometimes prolonged death? I commend this bill to the House.
One by one, MPs stood to share their views and personal stories, emotions running high.
There were lots of young families and there were lots of other kids for my brother and I to play with.
The opposition leader sharing the story of a childhood friend who died from cancer.
When I asked Jason's permission to share Tim's story, his response was simple and a powerful one. Go for it, Beck. Something might come. Something good might come from our pain.
The Premier reminding the House of just how precious life is, telling of how he lost his father, his little sister, and his brother, who was just 10 years old.
He died running in a 100-metre race at the St Sports Ground in Launceston from a heart defect, a floppy heart valve, in front of my parents who were there to cheer him on.
Peter Gutwein confirming he will support the bill, a move that will likely make him the first Liberal Premier in the country to vote in favour of euthanasia laws. Attorney General Elise Archer the first to oppose the legislation today.
This does not mean I don't care. Quite the contrary. I have lived this, and I care so much that I fear for our most vulnerable.
And a plea from the Greens.
For our closest, we want to be there, to be holding their hand when they go. And surely, Madam Speaker, when our time comes, we want the same.
These people are not wanting to kill themselves. In fact, they have a very strong will and desire to live. The disease is what is killing them. Please pass this bill.
A complex bill going further than it ever has before in the state.
And the debate is continuing inside Parliament as we go to air tonight. Meg Sides joins us now for an update. Good evening, Meg. Now, does it look like those proposed laws have the numbers to pass?
Well, Kim, late this afternoon we've heard Liberal MP Guy Barnett confirming his opposition to the bill, while independent Madeline Ogilvie has also said she won't support it. But it does look like it has the numbers to pass, with Labor and the Greens as well as several Liberal MPs, including, as we saw just then, the Premier, already confirming their support. Debate will continue into the night before restarting tomorrow, where MPs will vote. If it passes, it will then be reviewed by a University of Tasmania panel. And Kim, the final vote on the bill will likely take place in March next year.
Well, to other news now, and a 21-year-old man has died following a single vehicle crash on the northwest coast. Police say a Hyundai Excel flipped onto its roof on Calder Road in Wynyard just before midnight. The rear passenger was transported to the Northwest Regional Hospital in a serious condition, where he died today. 2 other men were also taken to hospital with injuries. Anyone who saw the crash is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. A 39-year-old man has been caught allegedly driving almost 3 times over the legal blood alcohol limit with children and firearms in the car. The Perth man was pulled over by police at Watermana in the Central Highlands late last week. He's also accused of possessing several firearms, including one which was loaded. Police say one of the children was holding a gun. The man was disqualified from driving for 12 months and is facing a string of serious charges. Tasmania is lifting its freight capacity as demand for our products soar on the mainland and overseas. But with a busy harvest season now in full swing, farmers are struggling to recruit fruit pickers, with 8,000 needed next month.
From the Apple Isle to the mainland and further afield, Tasmanian farmers given a lifeline ahead of harvest.
It's a jigsaw. The flight that came in last night with workers from Timor-Leste is also really important. It's really important for Timor-Leste and it's really important for our berry growers in particular.
On board 150 workers to help fill the gap caused by COVID border closures. And despite the pandemic causing havoc for exporters, as our overseas markets dried up, demand for Tasmanian produce is high. Freight service Sea Road is increasing capacity. The company is investing $80 million to charter a new vessel, which will be operational from April next year.
It'll increase our lane metre capacity by 70%, which will make it extremely good for Tasmanian businesses and also Victorian or mainland businesses.
The MV Leacoot will carry an extra 90 trailers worth of goods between Devonport and Melbourne, with an even larger vessel to arrive in 2023. Meanwhile, new flights from Tasmania to Hong Kong are the cherry on top.
Hong Kong is our biggest market for cherries, so having a direct link out of Hobart, direct into the Hong Kong market, will make a big difference and a great choice and a great opportunity for our exporters at a really difficult time.
It's been a really tough year, particularly for some of those products here in Tasmania in terms of getting access to market, so this will be a real boost.
Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
A Chinese developer has won a Supreme Court fight with its controversial proposal for a new resort on the East Coast, taking a major step forward. A Hobart judge today quashing a Tasmanian Planning Commission decision, currently halting the Canberra Green development.
The site for a proposed luxury resort here at Dolphin Sands stepping closer to the green light. Chinese developer Canberra Green aiming to build a hotel, 200 villas, a golf course, conference centre and retirement facilities near Swansea. The plan, approved by the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council, voting to amend planning rules to allow the land to be rezoned in 2018. However, the Tasmanian Planning Commission said it would not consider those changes. Not satisfied, consent was given by the landowners, essentially stopping the $140 million development in its tracks. But in the Supreme Court today, Justice Stephen Escort quashed the Commission's decision, declaring Canberra Green acted as an agent or on behalf of the relevant landowners, saying an affidavit from one of the parties put beyond doubt it had the authority of each of the landowners to make the rezoning request, but also finding the Planning Commission did not commit legal error when raising the consent issue. Justice Stephen Escort's decision has given the developer another chance of winning approval, with the application set to return to the Planning Commission. Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
130,000 salmon have escaped from a Huon aquaculture pen, the second incident in less than 2 weeks. It's estimated the fish, weighing around 550 grams, were lost due to a tear in the inner net in a pen at Storm Bay. In a statement, the CEO said no clear cause of the tear has been identified, but weather conditions have been ruled out. It follows a fire at a Huon aquaculture enclosure near Bruny Island last week, where 50,000 salmon weighing 4 kilos also escaped. The cause is still under investigation. A frustrated Tasmanian landlord is counting the losses after his rental property was trashed. Frank Green believes there needs to be stronger protections for landlords after he struggled to evict troublesome tenants.
A home left trashed. Its owners left shocked at the state of their low-head rental property.
Atrocious. Atrocious. There's a thawing out freezer out the back. A friend of mine looked in it yesterday and he said, whatever you do, don't open that freezer. It's full of decayed fish bait and meat.
The Greens have no option but to clean up. The family used to live here and now it barely resembles the place they called home.
How does that make you feel to see this place that you lived in?
Oh, it's pretty depressing. And the other thing is that we're pensioners now and we use it. It was part of our retirement plan.
Now selling the property to cover the lost rent and damages, they're unhappy with the government's eviction ban. Introduced as a COVID emergency measure, last month it was extended until January.
The Minister's made it very clear the government's position and provided that support over a period of time, and that support remains in place.
We know that most tenants are doing the right thing. When we hear stories of tenants trashing properties, we find such stories heartbreaking.
While they sympathise, the tenants' union says that people like this are few and far between.
We know that most of them are doing the right thing and will generally return the property in a similar condition to when they moved in.
Even so, these landlords are still mad.
We just got unlucky and they played the COVID, as far as I'm concerned, to the max.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
More splashes of colour will soon hit the streets of Hobart, with a mural festival returning early next year. 20 local artists are set to showcase their creativity on walls along Elizabeth Street up to North Hobart. As well as live music and food, organisers say the 3rd annual event will brighten up the city after a tough year.
What it's really doing is bringing mural art to the community and engaging the community by being a largely free festival that's a walking tour up Elizabeth Street.
The 7-day Vibrance Festival kicks off on February 22nd. The Royal Agricultural Society of Tasmania has celebrated 200 years since its first meeting. Members initially gathered in 1820 at the Central Hotel in Hobart to discuss some of the most pressing industry issues.
Stock theft was a real issue back in the early colony, as there were no fences and there was no court system in place either. So that was one of the drivers. The second driver was to hold an annual spring show, which we still do to this day.
RAST, which is the oldest agricultural society in Australia, says it has big plans to celebrate the milestone at the Hobart Show next year.
The Hurricanes are doing some serious soul-searching after another poor women's Big Bash season. Top bowler Brooke HEPBURN says a lot of reflection is needed before the side can become a serious title contender. In a year where everything seemed to change, the Hurricanes' WBBL results remained sadly lopsided.
I think there's a lot of reflection that needs to be had over, I guess, the next few weeks, next few months.
While some matches were affected by rain, Brooke HEPBURN says the team's performance was well below expectation. HEPBURN won't pin the blame on the batting lineup though.
With the ball we also didn't perform, so it's just looking at, you know, overall consistency and how we go into those competitions and perform under pressure in those big moments. We probably didn't stand up as we would have liked to.
She'll be hoping for better success on the weekend when her Newtown Bucks take on the North Hobart Demons in the Cricket Tasmania Premier League Women's T20 Grand Final. The competition had an overhaul this season, with the number of teams slashed from 10 to just 4.
We did need to make the cricket more competitive, and that's what I've found, particularly, obviously I've been involved when the state girls have been playing, and it's a challenging brand of cricket, and that's what we want.
We had some challenges early on in finding our rhythm with some new team members, and it took a little while to get going, but once we got through the first couple of rounds, we have been fairly solid since.
And the Supercars have locked in a date for a Symmons Plains round next year. Tasmania is scheduled to host the event on April 10 and 11.
Good evening. Hobart, St Helens and Friendly Beaches out top today. 21 degrees, Launceston 19, Burnie 20 and Devonport 18. Bushy Park and Smithton recorded 19. Flinders Island and Grove 18. King Island and Lowhead 17. Strawn 15 degrees. Lyawini and Cressy, the overnight low, -1. Pretty cool overnight. Few showers over the west and south today as low and middle level cloud move through. On the bigger picture, a streaky cloud band stretches from the far northwest of the nation to New South Wales. A trough has cloud along the Queensland coast. The southern parts also affected by the same patch of cloud as us. Tomorrow a high sits to our north. A trough crosses the state in that westerly airstream. Those winds up to 20 to 30 knots, reaching 35 knots over the south, but tending more southerly over the lower east later, swells to 4 metres. Gale warning from southeast Cape to Low Rocky Point. We have a strong wind warning for remaining coastal waters apart from the far northwest. That warning also for the central plateau lakes. Hobart for Friday, 20, a morning shower clearing. Same for Huonville, but 18 the top and 20 the high for Campania. Launceston reaching for 22 and a possible shower, 20 degrees for Devonport. A windy day for Georgetown, 20 degrees as well. Also 20 for Burnie and partly cloudy. Showers easing from Strawn, a top of 17 degrees, 20 the high for Wynyard. St Helens tomorrow, 23 the maximum and partly cloudy. Swansea 21 degrees and Port Arthur a morning shower clearing 19. There's the UV, very high, peaking at 9. On Saturday, light showers in the morning, increasing to rain during the afternoon. Windy on Sunday with showers more frequent over the west, central and far south of the state. And on Monday, another shower or two. Snow to 900 metres. Partly cloudy in Perth, sunny and 33 in Adelaide tomorrow. Fine in Melbourne, Canberra and Sydney. 32 and partly cloudy in Brisbane. Partly cloudy here as well. Hobart 17, Launceston 17, a bit cooler in Devonport 16 right now. It hasn't felt like summer yet, Kim, and that'll be the same story tomorrow.